There's so much hype today about going digital with reading books, about only reading on Kindle or other ebook readers, that the question arises whether it makes any sense to own real books. Is it even worth to have physical books in your home? And while I love reading digitally just as much as the next person, my answer to the above question is an emphatic yes, and here is why. But please remember to hit the subscribe and like buttons to help the channel, and to be notified when new content becomes available. If you read as a habit, you cannot but notice that books have a material side. They cost money, and sometimes quite a bit of money. But that is only part of the problem because just as importantly, they're heavy and take up space. Storing books in your home for decades takes up a lot of space and may severely limit your mobility. If you have a massive collection of books, you're going to think twice before packing up everything and moving somewhere else. And so from this perspective, digital books sound like a wonderful idea. No doubt about it, not having your home filled with books has its benefits. You're lighter, more mobile, and unsurprisingly have a lot more space, which you can use whichever way you like. When you travel, you don't need to carry books or limit yourself to a slim volume. If you go digital, you can carry as many books as you like. In fact, your entire collection is probably on your Kindle or ebook reader already. The books are light, in fact they're weightless. They take up no space. And they're always available to you, unless you delete them, which can also happen accidentally. So largely because of these benefits, in our modern society, reading digitally is becoming more and more common. Now you buy books as digital products from Amazon and other sites. You download them from file-sharing sites or even your local library, or you receive them as email from your parents or someone else. And the result is that you don't end up with books cluttering your home. But you can also continue to read physical books, as there are many well-established channels to get books without cluttering up your personal space. You can borrow them from the library, exchange them using the little free library movement, or use a similar exchange program at your local grocery store. But you can also buy them dirt cheap at charity shops and return them to the same place once you've finished with them. Or you can just give them away to someone else once you've finished reading them. And you can just as easily borrow books from friends, co-workers, family, or even from the lobby of the resort where you're vacationing at. Having said all that, I wanted to make the case that keeping real books in your home also has benefits, some of which may not be immediately obvious, especially if you think of books as text or as a story, be it a suspense thriller or a biography. Because I think that books are not only text, and their value is not limited to the information they carry. They're also cultural objects which have a range of other values and significance beside the text they contain. When in Western societies people are asked to swear on the Bible, they don't really read the text, but they recognize the symbolic value of the book. Or when a collector lays his hands on a rare first edition of a novel by Graham Greene, he's less interested in the words in the novel, which he had probably read many times, than a number of other values and associations which are all closely connected with the physical copy of the book. And even though librarians are usually annoyed with the marginal comments and underlinings of students in library books, those very same savage interventions may acquire a whole new meaning if they turn out to have been inflected by a famous literary figure. And I also believe that even in our mundane lives, having books around the house has some important benefits. Because books are not neutral containers of knowledge. They are themselves objects that carry meaning and value, and inevitably have an effect on people around them. You see them day in and day out, and somehow they become part of you. By their quiet presence, they somehow influence who you are, intellectually, and perhaps even in some other less tangible ways. They become part of your identity, and not just your identity, but that of your home, if there is such a thing. And most importantly, they can have a major impact on your kids, who grow up amongst these books, and learn to see them as part of the normal environment around them. I remember when I was a kid, our home was always full of books, and I grew up watching them. Even before it occurred to me that I could actually read them, they were already part of my life. They gave me a sense of familiarity and comfort, and I guess also safety. And even though I never managed to read all of them, I'm certain that over the years I have looked at every single one of them, simply because they were there. I would just pull a book out from among the others to see what it was about. Perhaps because I was bored and I wanted to see something different, hoping that I might find something interesting, something would catch my attention. And so over the years, I ended up reading many of those books, even the ones I would not have otherwise picked up. I would have never bought them or borrowed them from the library myself. Somehow, the fact that they were part of our family collection lent them an aura of authority, a stamp of approval, a significance. So seeing a book on the bookshelves at home was a form of recommendation. And if I asked my parents about a particular book, they would always be able to tell me why they bought it and how. And in retrospect, I think the experience of seeing all these books at home played a significant role in me becoming an academic and pursuing a career devoted to teaching and learning. So while on some level these books were not necessary to own, and it may even have been an unwise decision to keep them in a home for decades, they shaped, perhaps even determined my reading habits as a teenager. And my experience was entirely different with them around. Because I saw them even when I was not looking for books. When I was bored hanging around in the living room, waiting for the TV show to start, or for the water to boil, or until it was time to leave for school or practice. I would pick a book from the shelves and peek inside, without any actual goal or interest, just to take a look, to see the year of publication, or to check whether there was a photo of the author on the first page. I guess in a sense it was equivalent to nowadays browsing social media postings, a mindless and largely automatic activity you do while you're not actually doing anything, or looking for anything specific. So in retrospect, I think these books in my childhood home had an enormous impact on me, and are still part of my identity today. So I would argue that having books around the house is of benefit not just for you, but perhaps even more importantly for your kids, who would be affected by them simply by having them around them as they grow up. Okay, so these are my points of having real books around the house. Let me know what your experience has been. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.